All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. Check them out. Get the brisket chili. We're talking Niners this morning on a Sunday because the Niners announced that they have brought back Jeff Wilson Jr. That's right. As they're getting closer to the regular season, they want to take a look at backs you can tell that know the system. They brought back Keyshawn Vaughn. He knows the system. Now they're bringing in Jeff Wilson. He knows the system. They're close to week 1, and they're looking for viable options in the backfield. And it's a lot of hits. You got Garendo down with the shoulder. CMC is likely not to play for the preseason. You can't put it all on Corey Kiner and Jordan James. James is going to be out a couple weeks. So it was clear that the 49ers were going to add a back or two over the last couple of days and just wasn't sure who it was going to be. And it's going to be Jeff Wilson Jr. And, Jeff Wilson Jr. is an interesting player. He played college ball at North Texas, played for the Mean Green, and the Niners signed him. The Niners have had a great, if you want to say, what is something that this regime really has done better at than almost everybody in pro football? They've been really good at finding undrafted free agents. I mean, Kevin Givens, Azeez Al-Shaair, several guys this year. I mean, the Niners scouting staff does a very, very good job, and I think they should be credited and applauded for the job they've done with undrafted free agents. And Jeff Wilson is another one of those. He was an undrafted free agent back in 2018. He goes to the Dolphins for 3 years, and now he comes back, and he's just, he's tough. He's tough. I don't know how much he's got left. He's 6 feet, about 205 pounds. He's 29 at this point. He's taken some hits. There's been some, I'm sure the mileage, has taken a toll. He had 561 total carries in college. He rushed in college for 3,200 yards and 32 touchdowns. Has never been a burner, right? Came out of college as a 4 or 5 guy. He's a 4 or 5 guy now, but he's got good instincts. He hits the hole. He can block. He's tough. He can run in short yardage. He can run through arm tackles. He's not Superman. I'm sure he's not. And I guarantee you he's not the same player that he was last time he was here. But Jeff Wilson Jr. is definitely a fan favorite. Good football player, catches it out of the backfield. I mean, this is him running away for a touchdown against the Cardinals. I mean, I'll say this. I've always loved talking to Jeff, and he'll add a lot to the room. And the bottom line is, the Niners go through running backs. No amount of depth at running back is enough. I mean, really, on paper, they looked pretty deep on running back coming into the camp. You had CMC, you had Garendo, Corey Kiner looked good, Jordan James looked good, Patrick Taylor. I mean, that's 5 backs right there. And yet, now it seems like everybody's a little dinged up, and they're going to need every available back they can find. And they're not in a spot where, with a couple weeks until week 1, where can go with a lot of raw guys that they have to kind of teach from the ground up. So they're looking for guys who either know their system and are ready to play right now and who could just plug in and immediately go. So that's what a Keyshawn Vaughn is. Vaughn was brought in yesterday as well, and I don't know if he's going to stay or not. He played in last night's game. I'm not sure who will go to take Wilson's spot, but as you see here, Wilson can catch it out of the backfield. He's a bigger back. He kind of runs upright, but he's tough. He's a tough guy, and he was a good 49er. He really was a good 49er. Is he a superstar now? No. Is he? What has he got left in the tank? We're going to find out. That's really the ultimate question. Now, let's share the screen on his game log from last year. This is his 2024 game log. Just taking a look at it. The bottom of the year, the top is the end of the year. The bottom is the beginning of the year. So let's go to the bottom. September 8th against Jacksonville. They got a 20-17 win over the Jaguars. He had 5 carries, 26 yards, 5.2 a carry. That's Jeff Wilson, about 5 yards a carry. He had a 14-yard run. Good game there. Buffalo, they lose 31-10, no touches. Actually had 2 receptions. 2 receptions for 12 yards. Seattle game, September 22nd. 3 carries for 14 yards, almost 5 yards a carry, no receptions. He had a 10-yard run there. Tennessee game, nothing. Green Bay game, nothing. He looks like he played but wasn't targeted. The Jets game in December. So, first of all, he didn't play between September 30th and November 28th. So there was an injury there involved. I don't have the specifics on the injury, but obviously there was an injury there. So then he comes back after the injury, and he had against Seattle, he had 1 carry for 4 yards and 1 reception for 7 yards. Then the next week, 2 carries for 12 yards, 6 yards a carry. So, and then 3 for 5 yards against Cleveland. That's a good defense. And then 2 for -4 yards against the Jets on January 5th. So, it's not I mean, look at that. I mean, his high rushing mark for the year was the first game. It was 26 yards. So, he might be slowing down. He's probably not the same player that he was. As I mentioned, there was an injury. There's been a couple injuries along the way. He's got some mileage, but he knows the system. He knows the system. And, if you really think about it, that's really the prerequisite that we're talking about here. You got to know the system. And the 49ers, it's like, once again, you thought of their running back room. I thought of it on paper as like one of the strengths of the team. If you said to me, what do you think of the strengths of the team? I'd be like, I really like the depth of the running back room. And, it's amazing. And they played 1 preseason game, and they've had a few weeks of practices, and all of a sudden all their roster depth for the most part is depleted. Let's do this. Let's share the screen on this. I wanted to kind of show you the Niners depth chart. We can take a look at it, because to me, it is kind of amazing when you think about, how many backs. I mean, on paper it looks good, right? I mean, Christian McCaffrey's a terrific running back. Juice is a multiple Pro Bowl fullback. They know the system. Christian's supposedly healthy this year, feeling good, look good in the OTAs, and it's like, hey, he's not old. He just had a down year because of injury, and he's gonna here we go, right? And then by the way, you got Grendo coming on, and and they drafted a couple backs, and that's what it was looking like going into camp. Oh man, they're freaking loaded. And then McCaffrey, it's like he's not going to play much in the preseason. You just know that. You don't, and I am fully on board with that. I would not play Christian even 1 snap in the preseason, and I would manage his touches in the season. We don't need to see him set records for touches. We need to see him healthy on Super Bowl Sunday with a chance to win that 6th Lombardi. Grendo, I think, is going to be a big part of what they do offensively this year, but he's got a shoulder injury, and he's had a lot of injuries since he's been here. In a very short amount of time, Isaac Grendo's had like four different injuries. So you got to ask yourself, is he injury prone? He does run upright. If you run upright in the NFL, you get smoked. And that's just the way it is. So you run with body lean, and why do some guys learn how to run with body lean? Well, yeah, because you know what happens? They absolutely get destroyed, in their chest and face, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, I better get a better angle here. So Grendo is, runs a little upright, so he's kind of subjects himself to more hits. He's a big, fast guy, but he has been hurt, and he's not going to play at all in the preseason. Jordan James is out right now for the next couple of weeks with a broken finger, I believe. He looks like a pretty good running back as far as he looks like a back that can really catch the ball out of the backfield. And even though he doesn't have a great 40 time, he looks ideally suited for this offense. And there's a couple plays he's had in camp where you're like, yeah, this guy looks really good and he can contribute. But you got to get out there. You can't make the club in the tub, and you gotta be on the field to make an impact. Taylor has looked really good, and they've used him a ton in practice. But he runs upright, takes a lot of hits. He may be dinged up as well, because he has gotten the ball a lot. And then there's Corey Kiner, who's an undrafted rookie free agent, and he's got tremendous heart, and I think he's got a real ability to be a very impactful type back in this league. I don't think he's a backup, nothing back. I think this guy has a great sense for the sticks. He's really hard to. He's a bell cow back. You can hand this guy the ball 20 times, and he's going to pick and slide and fight and claw and get those yards. But he's not the biggest guy, and you can't just he's not 240 pounds. He's 210 pounds. So how much can you pound, Corey Kiner throughout this preseason? So you needed backs. So then they brought in Keyshawn Vaughn, who's a great guy, the former Vanderbilt star, who's, been in the league a number of years with New England. He's been in a couple of different teams. Key is actually a pretty solid running back too. He doesn't have explosive traits, but he's a good stopgap back. And then they brought in Amir Abdullah. And I got to be honest, I kind of think Amir Abdullah has been a little bit of a positive surprise based on how he's run the last few days watching him. He's got a little bit more explosiveness, a little bit more talent than I thought. So it's an interesting room, but they needed another body with guys going down. As I said, James is out for 2 weeks. Gurendo's not going to play at all. And McCaffrey, it's almost like McCaffrey, Gurendo, and James don't exist because they're not going to play in the preseason. So you're going to put the entire load. And then Abdullah went down in the game with some injury, and maybe the Jeff Wilson signing is an indication that Abdullah's further hurt. But yeah, you're running out of backs here, and you can't put it all on Corey Kiner, Patrick Taylor, because then you'll have an entire backfield full of injuries. So Jeff Wilson Jr. is probably just here because of these injuries, but it's an opportunity for him because he's also got experience. He knows the offense, and I could see Shanahan saying, you know what, I want a guy. If I got to go with a stopgap guy in week 1 up at Lumen Field against the Seahawks, I want it to be somebody that I've been to, through the battles with, who I can trust, who I know knows my system. He's leaned on Tevin Coleman in the past. Why? Because he knew him from Atlanta, and this is kind of a Shanahan trait. Now, personally, I'd have, it's great to sign the Jeff Wilsons of the world. I think it's a smart move, but I hope they're simultaneously having their pro personnel guys bird dogging every team in the league, looking for the best back that's dropped. I'll say this just as one idea. Amani Bailey, who's in Kansas City's practice squad. I think he's on Carolina. I saw a highlight of him the other day. If he doesn't make, Carolina's pretty loaded with a lot of backs. If Amani Bailey does not make Carolina, Amani Bailey would be a very nice 49er. Why? Because he's a running back who's fast. I mean, if Shanahan loves the backs who have speed to the edges. I mean, that's what Raheem Mostert was. I mean, they love, if you're going to run that outside stretch zone, you got to be able to get to the edge. This guy's got huge home run hitting speed. I really, really like him, Imani Bailey. And one other name that you guys should check out, Niners brought him in, I think, before the draft. Shunderick Powell is in a numbers crunch with the Eagles. Eagles have a loaded roster. They're going to cut some really good players. Shunderick Powell looks good in the preseason. Central Arkansas running back, return guy, undersized guy, but explosively fast. Big play guy. Really, really talented. Could be a great pickup at the end of the cut down. I don't think he's going to make the Eagles. They're probably going to put him through waivers and try to slip him to the practice squad. Shunderick Powell. Remember those two names. So anyway, that's going to do it for the video. Niners, the big news of this Sunday, Niners sign Jeff Wilson Jr. And they add to their backfield, and we'll be there. They're off today. We'll be back out there tomorrow. They got big practices this week and then off to Vegas to take on the Raiders in week 2 of the preseason. So Jeff Wilson Jr. back in the fold. Leave your comments below. Do you like the move? Do you not like the move? I think it's a good stopgap move, but I'd love to see them look for some younger, more explosive. Let's not keep looking back. Let's look forward and see if we can find the next great guy instead of the last great guy, because the bottom line is guys run out of gas in this league. Guys get beat up. The Jeff Wilson of 2025 is not the same Jeff Wilson of 2022. And I think Niner fans should probably take heart, remember that. And if it was up to me, I'm looking forward. Give me Amani Bailey, give me Shunderick Powell, give me some explosive speed out of the backfield. That if you get them on an edge, they could take it to the house. Give me some big playability in the backfield. That's what I'd like to see. All right. Appreciate all of you guys. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Claw Daddy Arcades. You see their logo up there at the top. They're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades for location near you, with locations in Capitola Mall and Visalia Mall. And thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue down in Pacific Grove, California. The great Anthony Catania. All right. Thanks to everybody. Have a great Sunday. Go Niners. And, the grind continues. Wasn't a great preseason game. We'll have a lot more to talk about after I review the film, which is coming up shortly. But thanks for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.